All righty then. Welcome to Justice Served TV. Michael Bryant here. Hi, Linda Kenny Bob.
Hi, Michael Bryant. I'm so happy to see you tonight. I have to tell you.
And why?
Because
What is
you
that?
were,
Do I owe
well,
you
because
money
you
or
were,
what?
no, because you've been in Canton and Dedham and
Ah.
Stoughton for 2 days, and then you drove home, and your dedication to Justice Served TV is amazing.
Oh, well,
and
thank
today
you.
I have to tell everybody, without you, there'd be no show, because I woke up and I had like a little, I don't know, it's a long story.
Oh, go ahead.
But anything, no, it's okay. If this show is great tonight, which I know it's going to be, I heard the rundown, okay?
It's a lot of pressure.
But you can not blame. You can credit Michael Bryant because he really works so hard for everybody who's watching this show, as you know. So thank you very much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Michael. The best streaming partner ever.
Thank you. It's better for me to take the thanks now. What have I done now? Take the thanks now. No. After the show, that may change. Okay,
thanks, thank you for saying I look beautiful. You have no idea, but you know, it's true. It's true. Yeah, my girlfriend was here. She's actually you know, she's like in the business, and we're making a product called Law Glow. Here it is. I'm wearing it.
What is that?
It's kind of like a serum. It's a complete serum, and maybe that's why I'm shining and glowing tonight.
Get some of that when you can. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Please.
What's happening?
Now, it has to disappear so we can come back. So then, this just handed me. Here's the way we've be done in the news biz, right?
Okay.
Karen Reed trial is continued.
No.
If the parties have their way, and then
if the parties have their way. Oh no!
See how I got you there. See how
you got me. You got me.
So here's the deal. There has been, and yes, Proctor was fired. We're going to get to all of that. Believe me. We all know about that. But this is an interesting little wrinkle that I haven't really seen anywhere, mainly because I guess people think it's either a joke or not going to happen. But there has, in fact, been a motion for continuance filed. I have to get rid of this before it'll let me show it.
Well, let's say, aka the cat lady became a new member.
Oh, nice.
I'm sorry. This is the problem I'm having with my eyes tonight. So if I go right in. But thank you very much for becoming.
I know we have another new member too, Anna, because she emailed us and was having trouble finding the link to become a member, which is bad. That's why
not bad for us, not bad for her. I mean,
bad for somebody that wants to become a member and can't find out how to do it. Anyway, so I sent her an email, and I believe she now is a member. So thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. Defendants assented to motion. What does that mean, counselor?
That means that both sides have agreed. That means that the prosecution and the defense want a continuance until
April 1st.
To April 28th. Okay.
Yeah, so it says April 25th on here, but isn't that like the middle of the week or something?
Well, I think with the final pretrial conference, Friday, April 25th.
It's a Friday.
And they want to continue to Monday, April 28th. And that's because Easter, for those of us who celebrate Easter, is the week before. And, you know, this is, and it's not bad to have, you know, you have a whole week there with the Jewish holidays, the Catholic holidays. You know, the people aren't going to be available that much. You start a trial after you pick a jury, and then they got to wait, you know? Okay.
So this, and I do think it's funny that in the body it says Monday the 28th and a pretrial conference on Friday the 25th, but the headline says to a date on or after April 25th, which makes it sound like they want to start Friday, but that's for the pretrial, the final pretrial. What's the grounds for this continuance that they would both agree?
I think it's exactly what I said. I think that you have family holidays, you have Easter, you may have people, witnesses on both sides that are going away, witnesses that have family obligations. I mean, the courts tend to forget about that. So we're starting April 1st, but then, come on, tell me when Easter is, right? It's the 21st, if I believe, or the 22nd.
The other day I was looking at it.
I will tell you a second.
It's late.
Well, let's see. The 25th is a Friday, so let's go backwards. Let's go backwards from the 25th.
Like
24th is a Thursday. 23rd is a Wednesday. 22nd is a Tuesday. The 20th, April 20th.
Yeah, it's late this year. Okay, but the short answer to your guess is wrong. They're basically saying that they just got this denial from the federal court on the habeas petition, and they want to file an appeal.
That's what they're saying. But you know what?
You think that's not it? That you think it's the holidays?
I think it
Really?
partially could be motivated by that, but I also think it's the holidays because
Filed this motion, the appeal
what?
26th of March. So they're saying there's really no time for the appellate court to act if the court's going to put a stay on this proceeding.
Right.
To visit the jurors who said they got a unanimous decision on 1 and 3 of those counts.
And let's do a semicolon. And by the way, Your Honor, many people have plans during a week that's involved there, including religious plans.
I
so
do
why
not
we
see that in here.
I know, I don't see it either.
You're reading between the lines?
Between the lines, okay?
I did not think of that. One of them, they might as well just throw in, Judge, we don't want to start on April Fool's Day. It's bad luck.
Well,
So,
but that would be kind of funny.
move it
But
from
the interesting
that?
thing is, the only reason I say that is because the prosecution assented, the DA, the Commonwealth assented. If it was just because to wait on the federal court or whether it's going to be stopped, there's no way in hell, in my opinion, the prosecution would consent to that. Okay, so they say, well, this would be good. It'd be good for all of us. We don't have to say that really, that we really don't want to go either during that time. What is it? So you're continuing for how long? 4 weeks? I mean, really?
So she filed a notice of appeal on the same day the district court denied her petition. So they could not have done it faster, and that's one of their points. Here, let me take up your argument though. Okay, let's say we start on the 28th. Well, this trial is not going to be over in 3-4 weeks, right? Oh,
Right.
Oh my gosh! Now we have Memorial Weekend coming up. Well, we can't possibly start because Memorial Weekend's going to mess things up 4 weeks later.
That's one holiday, and quite frankly, I think this trial's still going to be going then. All right.
Of course, it's going to be going. Yes, that's barely 8 weeks, even if it starts April 1st.
Because the cross-examination here of some let's take Hank Brennan. We see Hank Brennan is, whether you like him or dislike him, he's methodical. He's a tough attorney. He's going to be great on cross-examination, much better than Lally is. It's going to take time. It's going to take setups. Look at Dr. Russell. Took how long?
I don't know, how many days was it? 3 days?
3 days, and most of it was the prosecution and cross. That's just one witness, one expert. And when we get to the witness list that was filed today by the defense with all these brand new experts, okay?
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a long time. So why not wait for the federal court? Why not wait till after the whole week where people tend to celebrate a lot of religious holidays, a lot just because they go away, right? Why not wait? I mean, the only one who's rushing, the only one who wants it rushed is the judge.
Well, funny thing is, she's the one making the decision. So I'm going to, I was going to reach the magic 8 ball, but I can't. So I'll just say denied for whatever reason, whether it's a holiday reason or an appeal. Right. You think she's going to even consider this?
Rack says, why not wait till July 5th? Well, yeah, they could wait till the federal court acts completely. But no, I just, when we try cases, this always happens. This type of things always happens. You'll get what's the best day to be called in New York City for jury duty? Okay.
The best day
to be called in New York City. And if you ever you ever want to get your first adjournment, which you can get automatically, and you can put a day in that you want. What is the best day to be called for?
You got me. Yeah,
the Monday before Thanksgiving, because cases in New York are still scheduled for the calendar. They never go. Why? Because no one wants to start to pick a jury on the Monday before Thanksgiving and have a case and bring in witnesses. That's
you'd have to have some like a DUI or something super simple.
And so you can't say, but Your Honor, can't we have a case after Thanksgiving? No, we can't do that. My calendar can't be moved. But the judge doesn't want to necessarily do it either because it's kind of like loose. So I'm just telling you from experience.
Okay, well, I appreciate the inside info there. I thought their argument was decent, but still a loser. But anyway.
Yeah, but I think that the defense wanted it for one reason, but the prosecution assented for another.
That may very well be. You don't have to agree to the reason just because you're agreeing to a continuance.
Well, why not? Why not? She's gonna say, I can't do it right now because I have called in all of these jurors have received summonses. They've been called in, okay? And that costs a lot of money. And every time we have to call in, it's a lot of money. So the answer is no.
Yeah, and certainly we've talked about that as recently as last week when there was a motion to voir dire the panel, and the court said, we're going to probably use that questionnaire. You guys need to come up with a page each of questions, and then we're going to blend those into something. And she described the panel being called in as large. A lot of people coming in.
How many, right?
I don't know the number.
Sue says, why don't we have Mr. Better on the trial? That was a topic of our discussion today. We're going to reach out to Mr. Better.
Yeah, I reached out to him and he totally blew me off. So,
oh, really? Well,
he didn't respond, which is unusual. He normally does.
Okay.
But
we'll reach out again.
Yeah.
So reach out for us.
He's been out there.
On Justice Served TV.
He's definitely been out there.
So. The problem is that everybody wants to talk to him. I'd like to talk to Bradel. Actually, I thought Bradel was great.
I think Bradel's very good. He's got a real Matlock kind of feel about him, and he's very comfortable in there. Even when you throw the curveball that he had yesterday. Was that just yesterday? Feels like so long ago. That was just yesterday.
Just yesterday that you remember you drove out Monday, St. Pat's Day, okay, and you went bar hopping, but not.
I just went to the waterfall bar to have a little Guinness.
Right.
But yeah, he's told at the last minute that Aiden. By the way, Aiden Carney, we're going to try to revoke your bail after we told you we weren't.
Yeah.
What the
So that all happened. That was just all yesterday, and it was all yesterday. We're in court, and tomorrow, because yesterday was continued, Michael, we're going to start. I think at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to actually be ready to go on the air in case we see that fan.
Yes.
You should take a little break. Come on.
I think I'll sleep in, but I'll be ready to go whenever the first break comes, which is normally 10:30 or 11, depending on when they really start. They better plow through these things.
So you better come watch, because I'll be on watching with you all. So come on, we're going to stream this channel here on Law and Crime Network. Law and Crime Network. No, not Law and Crime Network. We're going to stream on Justice.
I do that too. Just,
very interesting. It's interesting how we revert to that. But because we're talking about law and crime, but we also add justice to our insignia, because we think sometimes justice, law, and crime are three separate things.
Well, speaking of that, I guess we're going to talk about a topic many people will feel is justice served. That's the Proctor factor. Do you want to talk about the witness list first? Do you want to do the Proctor factor?
Let's talk about the Proctor factor, because this is big, because this really affects also, I think, the witness list and how this case is run. And you know what? Now that I think about it, now that you've thrown that out, the Proctor factor, what other reason could the prosecution want a delay? Because they may have to try to figure out how to try this case without calling Michael Proctor. So what happened today?
That's interesting. And, I would hope that they weren't so stupid as to think, well, he's still going to be around and this investigation is still going to be up in the air. Because remember, there was a motion in limine to not talk about pending investigations. Well, this one ain't so pending anymore. So the defense is going to tear into it.
So what are we going to have, another motion?
And of course, Proctor is not on the prosecution's list.
So he's not,
unless I missed it. I've been going through them.
He was on the prosecution.
Is he? I've been going through them trying to cross-pollinate.
But this was
there he is.
Yeah, he's right there. He's on the prosecution list. But the interesting thing is, maybe that's why, and I didn't even think about this, so you mentioned, that's why talking about these things, and you all talk about with us, and we see what you're thinking about, although you guys are chatting so quick, it's going so fast, I'm not keeping up here. Maybe that's another reason, because they have to try to figure out, in my opinion, how to try this case without him. Okay, and they're going to make a motion, I think, to not have the finding and not have anybody questioned about Proctor, right?
That's a tough argument, because how can you argue it's not relevant? I mean, where do you go after that?
Well, should we go after that? Should we talk about this and read the finding?
Let's talk about
Let's read it. Let's go through it in detail. This is a big deal.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it here, because I've got a couple of options.
Yeah, while you're looking for it, it says Massachusetts State Police, Department of State Police, personnel order, issue date Wednesday, March 19th, 2025, number 25 PER 178, subject trial board finding. Okay, there it is.
Whoops, got a little crazy there.
Whoa.
Here, wait. I want to read this with a little. Can I read this with a little bit of audio accompaniment?
Yes.
So I think it's appropriate when this was effectively, just for those who may not realize what was happening here. This is the result of 3 different hearings in which Trooper Proctor's behavior during the investigation into the Karen Read case was evaluated. 3 times they had to meet with this guy, all super secret, and under the cone of silence. And this is the result of that hearing. And is it Noble? Is that his name? No, the head of the board there, Colonel Superintendent Trooper.
Yes, it's Noble.
Colonel Superintendent, yeah.
Noble. Jeffrey D. Noble, right.
Yeah. So you can see, I'll zoom in on that just because it's clear. Guilty, 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 guilty. And there were apparently subcategories of the different charges. That's
okay, so let me just, for those of you who don't know, when you try an administrative personnel case, the employer has to set out a charge and then a specification. So the charge may, let's assume for one, a charge insubordination specification on, March 16, 2024, the employee failed to follow the order given to him by him or her by a superior. The order was to go out and buy coffee for the team. I'm making this up, okay? But that's the way it is. There's a charge and then there's a specification under the charge.
Okay. And so, doggone it, I'm in between sizes here.
But it doesn't tell us specifically what the charge. We don't have the.
Well, it does get you. It does tell you what he did, though. So yeah, that by inference, you know what the charge was.
Yeah, but I'd love to see the charging document. Come on, you found them guilty. Show the charging document.
All right.
Peoples.
Okay, so let me. I want to give you a little accompaniment here, because when somebody is, this guy's, yes, he's fired. Okay, I get it. But this is like a military tribunal, right?
Right.
And what happens is somebody is, they are, how do you say, drummed out of the military? No. Failed to conform to the work standards established for the member's rank, title, or position, and/or did fail to take appropriate actions on the occasion of a crime, disorder, or other conditions deserving state police attention. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned to the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, sent derogatory, defamatory, disparaging, and or otherwise inappropriate text messages about a suspect in that investigation to other individuals. This action is in direct violation of Article 5.8.2. This is a Class A violation. Trooper Proctor. Oh,
go ahead. Keep going. No, I want you to keep going.
I'm on a roll here. Let me see if I can put this one up so I can see the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Trooper Proctor, on various dates between January 29, 2022 and June 9, 2022, did fail to conform to the work standards established for the member's rank, title, or position, and/or did fail to take appropriate action on the occasion of a crime, disorder, or other condition deserving state police attention. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, provided sensitive and/or confidential information about a homicide victim. I need more drumming. Hold on, I need to get back.
I'm drumming. Come on, let's everybody drum. Come on, everybody, let's drum. Let's drum with Michael.
This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned about investigated. The action is direct violation. Okay, those are the first two big broad ones, right?
Right.
But there's more. There's more. Let me see if I can find the second page here. Stand by. You ever remember a show called? It was with.
Come on, I'm drumming. Everybody drum.
Oh, sorry. Let me get back to it here. It was about. It's called Branded. You ever hear that show, Branded? Nope. It was great. It all starts with a guy being drummed out of the military back in the Civil War days. Okay, so continuing, charge number 2. Trooper Proctor, on various dates between January 29, 2022 and August 17, 2022, did fail to conform to the work standards established for the member's rank, title, or position, and or did fail to take appropriate action on the occasion of a crime, disorder, or other condition deserving state police attention. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, sent derogatory, defamatory, disparaging, or otherwise inappropriate text messages on a suspect in that investigation to individuals. This, again, is in a direct violation of 5.8.2. This is the same one I read.
Yeah, it's the same one.
It's starting to sound a lot like the other one.
Let me read the third one. Okay?
Oh, there it is, right there.
Trooper Proctor, through his actions.
Let me blow it up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Come on, Michael. A little more drumming.
The drumming's going. I can turn it up.
Trooper
Okay,
Proctor,
there you go.
Yeah.
Go crazy.
Proctor, through his actions on various dates between January 29th, 2022 and August 17th, 2022, did fail to conform to the work standards established for the member's rank, title, or position, and or did fail to take appropriate action on the occasion of a crime, disorder, or other condition deserving state police attention. This occurred when Trooper Proctor, while assigned as the lead investigator in a homicide investigation, through his unprofessional and inappropriate conduct, created an image that he was biased in his dealings with the homicide suspects and or brought otherwise himself and the Massachusetts State Police in disrepute. This action is in direct violation of Article 5.8.2. This is a Class A violation.
Here's my favorite one, because I thought this was a requirement. Trooper Proctor on July 19, 2022 did consume alcohol while on duty and not in the performance of duty, and while acting under specific orders from a supervisory member or proper authority. This occurred when Trooper Proctor consumed alcoholic beverages while eating dinner on duty and then proceeded to operate his department-issued cruiser. This action is in direct violation of Article 5.10.4. This is a Class B violation. Trooper Michael D. Proctor, ID number 3863, as a result of his actions, shall be terminated, dishonorably discharged.
Woo!
Okay, there you go.
Woo! But of course, in the third finding, what he brought disrepute on the Massachusetts State Police. How about maybe some of these actions caused a person to be charged with a homicide that shouldn't be, okay? Why don't we talk about that? We don't do that. So there's a little cover your ass here, okay? That's all I'm saying.
So now it's over and he's out. Oh, let's talk about, and I've got it here, stand by. The family. Remember, the family put out that letter last week,
right,
about, hey, poor Michael Proctor, he's been shat upon and everybody's disrespecting him and he's the scapegoat. And of course, Brennan had just thrown him under the bus in a recent hearing. But they decided they'd also make a statement now that he's been terminated. So that's kind of a new wrinkle, but you'll get a sense that the tone is roughly the same. Again, the first one came from mostly Elizabeth Proctor, who is the wife of Michael Proctor.
And in fairness to her, she's his wife. She should support him.
Standing by her man.
They should support him. I mean, I would support my pod partner if he did something.
I appreciate
shitty,
that.
Unless it's really shitty.
Yeah, right. Like, you mean what he did? Okay, so here's a statement from the Proctor Factor family. We are truly disappointed, I'll bet you are, with the trial board's decision, as it lacks precedent and unfairly exploits and scapegoats one of their own, a trooper with a 12-year unblemished record, his family said. Despite the Massachusetts State Police dubious and relentless efforts to find more inculpatory evidence against Michael Proctor on his phones, computers, and cruiser data, the messages on his personal phone, referring to the person who killed a fellow beloved Boston police officer, all that they found, the messages proving one thing, and that Michael is human, not corrupt, not incompetent in his role as a homicide detective, and certainly not unfit to continue to be a Massachusetts state trooper. They don't even address the alcohol issue, because like I said, I think that it's partly a requirement within the ranks there, from the stuff.
Well, I wonder who dined him out on that, or whether or not he was in a bar that perhaps had a camera. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah.
They should release the hearings. They should release, because we're getting the result guilty, but we're not really getting all the testimony, all the specific, all the deep and dirty. And quite frankly, if you want to cross-examine anyone in the trial, now let's assume the defense wants to bring him on to show that he didn't do a good job, right, on this investigation. I mean, why should they? I would make a motion for this, and of course the state's going to come in. The attorney general then have to represent the Massachusetts State Police to say this is a personnel matter. It shouldn't be open. But you know what? At some point, those rules have to go away, all right, in the interest of justice. And if the interest of justice is a fair trial for Karen Reed, so be it. But I'd love to see the attorney general now coming in defending Proctor after the defense goes and tries to file a motion to get all this stuff.
Yeah, I think it should be available as a matter of public interest. These are public employees. why can't we see what they're doing wrong and be able to scrutinize it ourselves as the folks who pay the salaries of these people?
Hey, Dizzle, you can't FOIA personnel. Personnel requests are exempt from FOIA. In New York State, they call it FOIL. But yeah. So the personnel. That's why all these boards. We only have a town board meeting, and they go into secret
executive session. That's what we called it, executive session. I was on a board where that was the goal. Like every day, you'd have a reading of the prior minutes from the last meeting, and then motion to move into executive session.
Right.
Then everybody's kicked out, and whatever's happening.
And one of it is to discuss personnel matters, and so there's. But the problem you have here is, what if? I mean, when we really haven't gone through. What if? Because the first one is, well, he sent the derogatory and disparaging text messages. We know that, and we also know there's issues because, remember, he had 2 or 3 people on those text messages.
He had 9 people on there.
Was it 9 people?
9. Okay. I was rewatching it. We'll have some of it for today just to remind folks of what was and maybe what will be in a different form.
And the issue is whether or not any of them took action knowing that he was doing this stuff. They didn't take any action against him. So shouldn't they be subject to
Well, it's interesting.
Or are they?
They were described as high school buddies. So it's hard to tell. And I think they were non-officers, non-departmental people.
Some of them were departmental people. Some of them were, Michael. Because the issue of why didn't you take action against? There was some question to some of them. Why didn't you take action against them when you saw these texts? I know there was something there. I just don't remember who. Was it Buchanan wasn't his supervisor, was he?
I don't think so. Somebody can tell us if so, but I don't think so.
All of you who there was, I know there were some buddies. Let's see, Ann.
There's Ann. That's the Ann I mentioned who had reached out.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you reached out to found us. But I think there was somebody, and there was a question of whether or not they took action when they saw these messages against him. I'm pretty sure. Lank. Ashley Linnell says it could be Lank.
Lank, yeah. Lank. Yeah, I don't remember the hierarchy as it comes to Proctor. He was kind of distracting with all of his other stuff. Who he was reporting to slips my mind.
Yeah, it's called the Proctor factor. But he assigned and provided sensitive or confidential information about a homicide victim, potential witnesses, and or potential investigative steps to non-law enforcement personnel. That's the buddy text, right? Those are the buddy texts, non-law enforcement personnel. So the first one, but where's the meat and the guts of this? I know they terminated him, right? But they terminated him because he drank. Okay, all right. They terminated him because he brought disrepute by those text messages on the Massachusetts State Police. Well, the whole case may be being disrepute on the Massachusetts State Police.
Yeah, I think if you look at, again, I assume that an A violation is worse than a B violation. And
right.
All the A violations directly relate to prejudice he had during the course of the investigation, prejudice against a targeted suspect. So, they soften it a little bit, but the fact is still there that he either inappropriately talked about this person or shared information about this person he shouldn't have. It gets to the guts of the guy who's supposed to be investigating, as an unbiased law enforcement officer, and it was far from that from the beginning, from day one.
Yeah. Well, Trooper Proctor, we're discussing on you, Trooper Proctor. We would invite you on the show. We'll invite your wife on the show, and we'll give you time to talk. We'll invite your lawyer on the show. So, if you're watching this, you can come on, explain it. I mean, and this, we have our opinions here, but we do give people who don't agree with us a fair option to talk about everything, because maybe there's something that we're missing. And please, well, you're welcome on Justice Served TV.
Good. So now Mary Lewis thinks it was Tully. Okay. And then if you want to know even more than that, Nancy's got it all dialed in.
Oh,
Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, Fanning. Yeah. Fanning, Fanning's going to be far more popular this time than the last time.
Yes, he is. Now, I thought it was Yuri Buchanan because I remember that I think that Buchanan was one of the ones that Alan Jackson did ask. He didn't take any action, and I didn't really pay attention to those texts. Is going to be the answer, Tully, interesting, and then Fanning, really interesting. Why is he so interesting, Michael?
Well, what he didn't do, could have done, might have done with the jury. What he said to them, didn't say to them, influenced them. We don't know. Some say that he mentioned the Birchmore case and was confident that was a suicide. That he shared that information.
Right. He's the lead investigator in the Birchmore case, confident it was a suicide. Okay. So I think that these text messages, and this is going to be, let me put it this way. It's not just the coffee, beans, Oasis cat that have to be spilled. It's the whole tea. It's every single kind of tea. Just give me, one of those fancy tea restaurants and just spill it all.
Okay, so let's.
Matter of fact, hold on, Michael.
You have some.
I have dirty matcha.
Oh my
tea
God,
here.
what is in there? What happened?
Dirty matcha tea. It's matcha tea and coffee. Let's spill some dirty tea.
Oh, that is nasty. I could not drink that. That is probably good for you, but does it taste? Doesn't it taste
delicious,
nasty?
Actually. It's delicious, yeah.
I have Dunkin' too.
Okay, I have Dunkin' too, Missy. Here's my mango, and here's my iced coffee.
I think you need some ice. Do you get ice in that or not?
No, I
see people on the East Coast don't get ice and stuff for some reason. Is that weird?
No, I dropped something on the floor. I don't know
weird.
what went rolling.
I mean, in the West Coast, we get ice. We love ice.
Don't you live in Connecticut?
Yeah, well now, but I'm born and raised in California. I can't shed it. And I was amazed when you go buy a soda somewhere and you want ice? Well, of course I want ice.
Well,
why would I not? Is it because you get more soda without ice? Is that why you don't want soda?
No, just in the refrigerator. It's cold. I don't need ice. And also when you travel, if you travel overseas, a lot of times you don't want to get ice because you don't want to drink the water. Okay, because your stomach is not used to different things in different waters. Just like sometimes you can go from upstate down here and get well water. And sometimes your well water has stuff in it that people come to your house, they don't feel so good, right? Because they're not used to the the biomes that you have. So let's answer some questions before we get to the next one.
What would you ask Proctor? First of all, we know that he's coming on one way or the other, right? We know that. So
the defense, I would think, has to call him, right?
Well, they get to, but if the prosecution brings him on first, tries to water down, all of the bad stuff, and they could. But he's coming on. So what are you going to ask him?
What am I going to ask him? I had to think about this. Let me think about this while we talk here. What is the one burning question I want to ask him?
Mine's a simple question, but a very long answer.
Wait, you're answering for him too?
No, but I'm just, I don't know what his answer would be. I better know before I ask this question. It's going to be a nonsensical non-answer. I'm just going to say, why? Why would you do those texts that you did? We've already gone through all of those in front of the jury. Why? Why did you do that?
Well, if you're the prosecution, asking that. Your defense, you're never going to ask him. You're never going to ask him that.
Well, his answer we heard was a pat answer that he had worked on before, which was it was unprofessional and I regret it.
Nobody from the Massachusetts State Police has ever taken any action against you until after this trial and Karen Reed's decision was hung, right? So I want to ask him a question that's gonna infer some wrongdoing.
Okay, here's a question then that would do that. When did your superiors first know about these actions, and what, if anything, was done?
Yeah, when did your superiors first see these texts? Oh, Yuri Buchanan, Talia, maybe you go through the whole list. Any action taken against you then? Any action taken against you then? Any action taken against you then? Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think that we're honing in, on that. Tell us what you all would ask him. By the way, Mary, you said it's totally. Thank you very much. Yes, and then Nancy, as you know, give to us all. Proctor FIRED, totally fanning. That's a great change, man. Okay, so all right. Here's a really good question from Creed.m. Question. Can the defense use the fact Massachusetts State Police said, quote, assigned as lead detective, close quote, to rebut the prosecution saying prosecutor was not the lead detective? Great question.
And the answer is, of course they can. And of course they will. If they stick to that, they can change their story now. The prosecution has the opportunity to kind of re-rack that and just acknowledge he was the lead investigator.
I'm told I'm having lipstick on my front tooth. Okay. Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Makeup! Get hair and makeup, people. Get them in here. Okay. That's what I would do. Don't you think they're just going to clean that up by not denying it?
We just cleaned it up, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Don't you
I
think?
think they should clean up. But but they can't. But the problem is you want to say, but didn't you say in the first trial? And you can't, because what the prosecution said the first trial, what the prosecutor says is not going to be listed as evidence. So
Of
really,
course.
that's what you want to
Of
do,
course.
right? Right. So then we have another great question. Why do you think Karen did it before seeing her or the Lexus? Why did you think Karen did it before seeing her the Lexus?
I'm missing something.
I'm missing something. Did we say we thought she did it? I don't think so. I think we said.
She did it before seeing her on the Lexus. Yeah, there's
Why did you
John.
say, John, just redo your question.
We'll push it to the top of the line, and
Yeah, just redo your question. And then, oh, wait a second. We've got on this. We've got a whole group of questions. Oasis Cat says, "What did Jen McCabe tell you? Tell us
these are
everything."
questions.
These are questions. Oh, okay. Go. Here we go. Let's go back, John.
Yeah.
We're the ones missing things. Okay. We asked you to put your questions of Proctor in.
Here
and
it
you
is.
do. And
Why do you think
Karen did before seeing her or the Lexus? Good question. Why did you you didn't see her or the Lexus, all of a sudden you jumped to Karen, right? Ooh, good question. Okay, here's another one. Smart Ahari. Proctor, what time were you contacted? 1:29:22.
Smart Ahari. And
okay,
like not
Smart
Ahari.
Ahari, Ray
Yeah.
OJO.
I think from this is, and I haven't double checked the records, but from his family's statements, it was at the end of his shift, like within the last half hour of his shift, he was notified, hey, there's this body down, unattended victim, and that was when he was first notified.
Yeah, but why did he jump to the conclusion it was Karen? He didn't even know where they were together. Proctor, what time were you contacted? 1:29. Okay, so that's the answer to that one. We think. Oasis Cat, what did Jen McCabe tell you?
Objection, vague and ambiguous.
Objection, hearsay. That's what the prosecution would say.
Yeah, you'd have to break that down a little bit, Oasis Cat. You have to break that down.
Yeah, but Judge Beverly Cannoni's not going to let it in because what did he tell you? It's hearsay. No, Your Honor, we're using it to. It's
a statement against penal interest. It's an admission of some sort. It's not a party admission.
We're using to see why he did what he did afterwards. But she's going to say speculative.
Anytime you frame a question that says, "What did somebody tell you?" that it's an easy hearsay jump. Then you just got to deal with the exception.
But the jury wants to know all this stuff, so they want to know what people were told, and that's why trials are sometimes so ridiculous. Objection, you can't say what they told you. You can say what you told them, and then you got to wait 10 witnesses 7 days to find out what the answer is to the question that was asked.
With this, if you're talking to Proctor and you're getting to his conversations with Jen McCabe, right? You back all the way up to, did you have a conversation with her relating to the investigation of this case? Yes, I did. When was that? When was the first time you talked to her? It was at this time. Where was that conversation? Did you can say this because this is not here. Did you ask her about going to look for John O'Keefe that night? Any of those things which are your statements are okay. If you start saying, well, then what did she tell her? That's a problem. I think you can work your way in to get Jen McCabe's statements from that night, assuming they're not already in a police report. And we know how bad the police reports were. A lot of them were non-existent or empty. But I think it's a good Oasis Cat. I think it's a good line of questioning, but you got to get kind of clever.
Okay, everyone's got more questions. We asked you to put your questions on what Proctor, and you are, and this is great. In fact, I would ask him why he didn't take a picture of the taillight.
That's such a good question, and
that she hit him with her car. What a great question that is.
At that point, as we're looking at the witness lists, there was a guy who picked up the car in, is it Dighton? Is that how you pronounce that town?
Yeah, I think it was.
Becoming an honorary city of Massachusetts. Apparently, they're not calling him, and I guess he testified earlier about the taillight when he picked up the car was cracked.
Right. They're not going to call him. The state has not put them on
the state.
The state, or Commonwealth, I should say, the government.
Yeah,
the government has not called him. It's not put him on the witness list, but the defense has put him on the witness list.
Because they liked what he had to say, obviously. So my point is, he's as close to a picture as we get, because the cops were not taking a picture. Now, it's easy to make it look nefarious, right? They were trying to hide something. But when you look at their entire investigation, which was so Keystone Cops like, with the whole solo cups, I mean, the red cups and the leaf blower, it doesn't surprise you that, they didn't take pictures. I think the bigger picture is more telling, that there was some decisions made at some point during this investigation to leave Brian Albert out of the mix just because it was his house. He's the cop. And that was all part of the failure to do the investigation properly.
Right.
And the part of that, of course, was no picture taken of the rear taillight, which is insane.
But it's great that they took them off the witness list. It goes to show you how they don't really want truth, if that's the case, because you should put that on. You should put that person
on. Of course. That's another, remember the whole chain of custody issue, remember?
Right.
Exactly. This guy is key in the chain of custody of that vehicle. We don't need his testimony. Don't need it.
So we got great questions. Ashley Linnell, what happens if the prosecution is exposed that the videos were doctored?
Well, hopefully the jury holds it against them. I mean, the jury has to find that they, beyond a reasonable doubt, prove their case. Well, doesn't that information suggest maybe they haven't proven their case? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right. That's that would be great, and also that'd be criminal. There's a criminal
spoliation of evidence.
Spoliation of evidence, criminal activity. I mean, that's great. Paula B, I don't care about the text messages. He did it. He admitted to it. I want to know, why would he risk a law enforcement
Bring that one up
career?
if you're going to read that one. That's
Paula
I'm
sorry.
B.
Yeah. Apologize. I don't care about. And by the way, these are being starred for us by Missy Mayhem, who does amazing work. I mean, she has to.
I think you have to. You have to pay Missy. You have to pay Missy, and then she puts a star on them. I'm kidding. Okay.
You're kidding. And so that we can see them. And thank you all. And it's great if you could put like question beforehand, or even put them in bold. We know you're not shouting, but because she has so much to do and we want to help her so much. I don't care about the text messages. He did it, admitted to it. I want to know why he would risk a law enforcement career by leading a faulty investigation that clearly doesn't have evidence against Karen Reed. Why?
Repeating my why question. And here's I don't think he would ever answer it truthfully, but I think as an observer, he's a cocky bastard. And a lot of these folks are so arrogant, they think they can get away with anything. And what I've seen in that very insular area up there is this kind of sense of we can do whatever the hell we want.
But Michael, isn't it even more than that? Why would he risk a law enforcement career unless he was trying to do a favor for somebody? Why would you, they're investigating homicides once in a great while. But why risk it over this one?
Well, again, if you're protecting your fellow cops, that's plenty good reason. That's why you do it.
Okay,
it's the blue wall.
That's the answer that we think that having. Oasis Cat. Okay, let me show this one, Mr. Proctor. What was your first action after you got the call?
Nikki had a beer. No.
All right, that's a good question. That's a great question, because we kind of have a follow-up on that with Micah. By the way, I don't know. I see Michael Bryan drinking out his cup. Michael,
it's in the mail, as they say.
Yeah,
it's in the mail.
The green one or the black one?
I think it's the green one.
Okay, yeah. Micah, was that the first and only time that you have ever had alcohol while on shift? Shall we take? I'm not a gambling woman. I play poker, which is not considered gambling when you're doing it in a casino or you're playing with friends for no money. All right. If I did gamble, I think I'd want to take a bet on that the answer would be yes.
Yeah. Yes, the first time that he have you ever? What city?
No, they never had
the first and only time.
No,
he would say yes.
He would say yes, and we would say
Yeah, I would also, if I were representing the Commonwealth, I would object to the question as irrelevant. But if they can get around that, I think he'd lie and say,
of course,
yes, it was the first time ever.
And it was a mistake. I'm so sorry.
There's so many folks that night, that were insular and connected
drinking,
to the bar, drinking and then driving. It's just a couple of miles.
It was just like it was a normal thing to do. I mean, around here in New York, they'll take your shoes if you're walking while drunk.
What?
I'm just giving you the whole idea about drinking and driving.
Okay.
All right. Haley Hundle says, posture. What would you do different now? In other words, how would you posture this case differently now if you're the prosecution? I think that's the answer, right? You know, if you're the prosecution, even if you're, well, I don't think that I don't think it's within his DNA that the Proctor factor could do anything differently.
I don't think he could. If I were the prosecution, I would have gone with, first of all, get second-degree murder off the table. It's a total overreach, and it misdirects the jury. So I would just go with a simple manslaughter, make it look like, yes, she was driving under the influence, and what else might have happened. I would have gotten rid of the whole 47 pieces of tail light. I think that is just so ridiculous that it makes it look made up.
Right.
So just go with whatever there was there, and I can't believe it was those pieces. It just takes me off the story. She bumped into him, didn't know it. He died as a result. You got manslaughter.
And one of our chatters, I forget who was, had a great point, and I started for us in our WhatsApp talk. If you know he had these cuts and all, if that was done by the taillight, where's the blood that supposedly was on the broken red pieces, especially that they say found?
I'll tell you what happened. They punctured his skin so quickly, and the temperature was so cold that there was no way that blood could actually begin seeping from the wounds and getting on the tail light. It didn't
need to seep. It just had to hit blood when it went in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Maybe the wounds weren't deep enough. Have you ever been cut like with a sharp instrument, like a razor or something, and there's no blood on the instrument because it happened so quickly? I've done that before in my many DIY disasters. Well, it can happen.
Please be careful.
It can happen. I can't be an expert, but I bet you could find one that tell you that.
Okay. Mary Lewis, was it worth your career to protect the Alberts?
Objection.
Objection, but was it worth hurting your family, right? Was it worth hurting your family? I always think of these things as you hurt your family who stand behind you. You know, you now you don't have a pension. You have family. You know, no matter what you can say about them, was it worth that? Was it really worth giving up everything you had? I don't know.
Yeah, irrelevant. Objection. Move on.
The judge would say,
ask it a different way. No.
All right. Creed M, have you ever reviewed group chat extractions in any case before? How did you determine who was able to see messages in the chat?
I'm going to put that up because we need
I'm
to
sorry.
See that. There you go.
Yeah. Former Trooper Proctor, please look who was in your group chat. Michael.
And this was from, remember, it was from his personal phone.
Right, which is what, you know, all the time in these investigations, we always ask that for the personal phone to be held. And there's always an objection. He's got the officer he or she has a phone from the department. The personal phone has nothing to do with you. You have no jurisdiction. And I see judges say that. No, you're in the person. What they're really doing, of course, they're talking on the personal phones. They're not talking on the radio. They're talking on the personal phones.
Yep. And then, there's the privacy argument. But then how do you rebut, evidence like this, especially that people don't use personal devices for business? It happens all the time. And that's what happened here. The series of texts. And if we have a chance, we may run some of that testimony. I don't know if we're going to do that or not. But he's talking about that, that group of 9 high school buddies that are totally outside his work. And he's just BSing with them about a case that is, there's one point where Alan Jackson says, you sent this note out identifying John O'Keefe within hours of this incident. And he tries to make a deal. Well, it was 15 hours or 16 hours. And Jackson said, well, it wasn't days. It was just within several hours. It was 16 hours. I mean, so I guess at some point in his head, it's fair game. They hadn't released, Brian Albert's name as the owner of the home, right?
Right.
But he released to his buddies the victim's name and the would-be defendant's name, because she wasn't the defendant yet.
Yeah, right. But
that was okay.
In his mind, it was okay. Ashley Linnell, I would ask about the evidence room. Why would you lay evidence on butcher paper? Let me take that. Butcher paper is a standard procedure on what you lay evidence on. It's even in clean rooms that you're going to do DNA testing. There'll be a sanitized butcher paper. So it's been kind of protocol for a long time to use the roll that's called butcher paper.
But it is important. Ashley's onto something here with the chain of evidence in the evidence room, and how did it get there? Who touched it on the way from point A to point B? once it was in the evidence room, who was watching over it? Was it ever checked out? If so, by whom? When? I mean, that whole series, there's a lot of blanks in there.
There's a lot of, you're absolutely right. Okay. You guys are great. I mean, we should ask you to try this case every night.
Yes.
Maggie Reyes, if this was anyone else's front yard, would you take their word and not search the property?
Interesting.
Well, we heard from last night from, we had Scott McGinnis on, who's in the Free Karen Read movement, but he was a marshal and he was involved in law enforcement. And we've heard from a lot of people, and I've watched a lot of people on shows and all. And my own personal knowledge, no, you go get a warrant. You ask the judge, there's a dead body found outside this house. There's people inside the house. We want to know if there's any evidence related to this dead body that's found on their lawn, because we have information that he may have entered the house from somebody at some point, or at least he was dropped off to enter the house.
It's just a logical, it's just, you know, it is so outrageous that it wasn't done. And you know, there should be evidence that an officer, two officers, talked to the homeowners and asked, do you know what happened here? Can we come in? And then if that doesn't work, you get the warrant, which you would get in a heartbeat, of course. But that wasn't even apparently thought about. Or it was thought about and immediately determined it's not a great idea to tell our story with that information. We don't know. It just wasn't done.
Samuel Stanley has two questions. Question first, what is the chance a prosecutor doesn't call Michael Proctor and slim down the case and force defense to show the conspiracy? I think that's a big chance. I think that's exactly what they're going to try to do. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's a chance they call him, and then, you know, with any bad witness, you try to, you know, blunt the shock and awe that's going to come when the defense exposes him. I think that's possible. He can still add some color to what happened, but he's a horrible witness, and I think it looks worse if you hide him and you let the defense bring him in.
Yeah, but you know, maybe I just don't know. I mean, if I'm the prosecutor, I'm not sure I'd want to call him. I was trying to go through, and we're in the process of doing that, and we're going to show you some of it tonight if we get to it. Some of Proctor's cross, some of Proctor's direct. To see if the prosecution can do without him. Now, we do know one thing. We do know that the drive that had the video, or the Sally port, somehow ended on a USB drive in a detective file. And guess which detective that was?
The guy, is that the one I can't pronounce?
Michael Proctor. No.
Oh, he got it ultimately.
Got
it was detective. It was the DJ Kamakamoyo, the guy that
Judge, right? Yeah, but it ended up where they found it in. They found it in his thing. So
eventually it got to Proctor, and that's where it ended.
Yeah. So he's coming in by name. If he ain't coming in by person,
that's my point. I think, you know, if I'm the prosecutor, I got to get out in front of this. You know, this is the hand I've been dealt, and I'm going to look really shaky and shifty if forgot jury members to mention the lead prosecutor, who's no longer employed as a result of his activity in this case.
What if Judge Canoni says that's irrelevant? It's irrelevant that he's fired. No matter who calls him,
she could decide that. She could. I don't know how you say that when you look at the basis for the termination. It's directly related to the investigation or lack thereof in the case.
And you have to have. She then has to have the backup to this. That you need the backup to this, and quite frankly, you really need the testimony to this. You absolutely do. If you're gonna really.
I wonder if they record or have a stenographer for that.
Yeah, my experience has been that it's a recording, but you know, who knows? In this case, maybe they had a stenographer. You know, I've had cases where I bring my own stenographer in who is court certified on it, and then no one really disputes it, but they don't want to pay for it. But they say the official record is the recording. But you know, it's always good to bring your court stenographer in. If they fight it, they'll lose on that because you're allowed.
I like that too, because sometimes depending on the hearing, they'll just say, "Look, we don't have the money for that, so we don't do it." So if you want it recorded, bring your own.
Carlene Barth, Mr. Proctor, why did you not follow any of the same protocol as you did in the Brian Walsh case? Now, the Brian Walsh case is a case where he's accused of killing his wife. Has her body ever been found? I don't know. Carlin, do you remember? I think she's one of the ones, because I'm on this whole thing with Michael Bryan about maybe doing a series of shows about cases where bodies have not been found, because I had a cousin early on when I was a wee little person, and I remember all my parents talking because she was actually kidnapped out of Monmouth County, New Jersey, by what turned out to be a serial killer, and her body was never found. And then I had a client who came to me who also had a sister whose body was ever been found kidnapped by the same serial killer. So I've been talking to Michael about trying to put together a show dealing with all this, whether it be here for Justice Serve TV or on a bigger platform, because there's so many families out there that have that. But anyhow, the same. Did he not follow the same protocol?
Yeah, you'd have to lay the foundation for that. That's obviously you'd have to lay that foundation. You know, were you involved in the Brian Walsh case, and that would get objection, relevance, arguments. But if you could get past that, you'd have to lay a foundation for what was done in the Brian Walsh case and say, well, how is that different here in the Karen Reed case? Or the John O'Keefe case?
Right.
You might get there. It's a tricky one. You might get there.
Afton Faraday, Mr. Proctor, would you be satisfied with this investigation if your loved ones were
objection
victim?
Irrelevant, and it is irrelevant.
It's relevant, but it's a wonderful question.
This is one of these deals, and you learn this. Sometimes the question is all that matters.
That's all right. Sometimes, we ask as trialers, and we ask the question. We know we're going to get objected to, but the jury heard the question, and they're all thinking the same thing. They're all thinking the same question. Okay, Micah. Okay, Michael, who doesn't have the cup yet, but it is in the mail, and of course we.
And by the way, he or she got that because they knew that I was on the road last week. That's our "Where in the World is Justice" reward, which we'll continue to do once we figure out, and it's not Canton or Dedham or Stodham. So that's too easy.
Yeah, Micah, Fire Trooper Proctor. I love how she addresses this. Fire Trooper Proctor, or he. Micah, I'm sorry, they. I guess
yeah.
Fire Trooper Proctor, why was the crime scene only secured for approximately 3 hours? Oh, they didn't even think it was a crime scene.
No, they ran out of crime scene tape. The budget cuts. They had no crime scene tape. I think what they said was it was too windy. Isn't that right? They said it was too windy.
Right. They said it was too windy. But you could put cars. You could put cars all around the area and prevent people from coming in. You could have a guy
sitting there in the car having coffee.
Yeah, you know how I remember that. So I mean, it's so ridiculous. Did they ever watch a case called O.J. Simpson, even on reruns, about how you secure a crime? How you're taught after that to secure a crime scene and what you're supposed to do.
And the problem with this case is that one of these things, in and of itself, annoying, but they just keep piling up, and it just starts to look more like intentional conduct than we're just crappy at our jobs.
Yep. All right, Brooklyn. How does Judge Cannoni start tomorrow's? I know you say Bev, but as a lawyer, a practicing lawyer who's had a Parag PhD, I have to, and who she's in the same court. I'm going to call her Judge Beverly Cannoni. So, how does Judge Beverly Cannoni start tomorrow's hearing? Well, you got a lot going on because they didn't get to most of the motions the other day.
I don't know. Is it going to be dramatic like it was? Was that yesterday?
I'm not wearing pearls. So I'll clutch my sweater. I'm gonna clutch my sweater. Oy vey.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be very dramatic. I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm sure too. Okay, assuming that the prosecutor, whoever was sick, is feeling better, and we don't want anyone to be sick. We wish everybody to be well. Ashley Linnell. Question. The detective that had the videos is the same detective that manages...
Where is that one? We don't see that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Here you go. The detective that had the videos is the same detective that manages the evidence room. He retired 2 days. Yes, he did.
Yeah, at the age of 56, yeah.
Sergeant D, after the videos were turned over in October. Isn't that a coincidence?
So, things happen like that. Don't make a big deal out of it just because he happened to retire at or about the time where he became pivotal to the chain of custody of the videos.
Yeah, and we never even heard his name in the first case. Is he on? I don't have.
I've got both lists here.
You have both lists.
I don't know. I've gone through so far. I found 20 what I call cross-pollinated witnesses. That are.
Yeah, because let me just tell you, when you're a defense attorney, you put every witness that's on the prosecution's case on your witness list, just in case the prosecutor doesn't call them and you decide.
And I will say that the Commonwealth did a much better job of organizing theirs. I got to give them credit for that.
But the defense put theirs in alphabetical order.
Not really. No, they didn't. After a while, they kind of ran out of steam and just started plopping names on there.
Well, anyhow, they had
Yes.
a lot of new names on the defense witness list that came out today. A lot of new names that we haven't heard.
They have, it's 91, including their experts, which they did plop on at the end. But
Right.
yeah, they started out alphabetically, and then at about in the 50s,
19 new names.
they ran out.
19 new names and seven new expert witnesses, as I count them. Could be more, you know. And that's a lot of new names. Like, you know, they have Paul Giampietro.
Yeah, he's on there. He's number 46 in the on the hit list for the prosecution.
we never heard of. We never heard of the first trial.
Well, we know what he's going to talk about since it's been in every hearing about the
right?
Sallyport videos.
Yeah. So they actually have the defense.
Yeah, he's number 78 on the hit list for the defense.
Is he on out of the 79? They have Matthew Kelch.
So that's another crossover. I got to highlight that one. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm just going to read the names, and we can talk about what they're talking about, and then we want to go back to Linda, the same guy from the Johnny Depp trial, to speak about the videos. He was really great. I think one of my law partners in one of the cases I'm doing with somebody in Illinois is also using him. He's very good. And they actually picked him up because they were so impressed about the Johnny Depp case. But you got Matthew Kelch, Michael Morrissey. I'm just going to read the names, not who they are. Thomas Kelleher, Paul Giampietro, Jeffrey Kostowski, Annie Chung, Maggie Gaffney, Derek Ellington, not Duke, Derek Ellington, Michael Easter, Matthew Erickson, Elizabeth La Posada, and Garrett Wing. That's some of the names. Now we can go through who they are, but did you want to do some of the testimony first?
I think it might be interesting. I mean, where are we going here? It's we're at the 1 hour mark. I'm just checking out my.
You guys want to go on because we have a lot to go. Unless you want us to do it at a separate time. What do you think? We have the names to go through. We also have some of the testimony of Proctor on the first trial. The testimony, both the direct and the cross.
Hey, here's.
Okay.
Where in the world is justice?
Okay, everyone says they're good to go, to keep going. Okay, they want more and more and more. And I want if any of you can grab that video and then grab the video of, I meant to do it, of Lady Gaga on Saturday Night Live a week ago. She rode she must have seen Michael because she rode the suitcase of the trial. We need to have a side-by-side comparison of this. Okay, we absolutely, and I don't think we should get a copyright violation when we do that. Maybe we can even send it to Saturday Night Live and say, yeah, we'd like to use this because look at this, we did this first, you know.
Then I'll get sued for stealing it.
No, that suitcase was
okay.
When I first saw that, you didn't tell me you did that. When I first saw it,
I just happened to see it and grabbed it.
So they want to go. So what do you want to do? You want to do the witness list, or you want to do Proctor?
Let's do some Proctor. Let's get some visuals here. And
right ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, this is the cross. Let's go ahead and do some of this.
Proctor, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to turn to the
binder
in front of you. Can you take a look at the face page of what's under tab 2 and tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, sir. It's a private text thread with high school friends.
And this includes 9 chat participants that you engaged with?
That's correct.
Those participants include people by the name of Bird, Whitey, and Doc, correct?
Correct.
And then there's some other folks in there. They're identified by at least the last 4 digits of their phone number, correct?
Yes.
So this is a group text or a group chat with you and 8 of your high school friends about this investigation, correct?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you never thought when you were engaged with these other 8 individuals that this particular set of chats would ever become public, did you?
No, I did not.
I want to take a look at page 2527, if you could turn, that's on the bottom right of the document in tab 2. Do you have that page in front of you?
Yes, sir.
You recognize that this group chat was taking place on January 29th at about 10:52 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And the person that I'll identify as 5051, that's the last 4 digits of that phone number, indicates Chip, name of that BPD cop, correct?
Correct.
First of all, you indicated on Monday that you're Chip, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You responded at 10:53 p.m., John O'Keefe, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you were willing to tell, just a few hours into an investigation of the death of a Boston police officer, you were willing to tell a bunch of high school buddies details about the investigation, including the name of the victim, correct?
At this point, it's 16 hours later, sir. Not a few.
16 is a few hours, correct? I'm not talking about days later.
It was about 16 hours later, sir.
Correct. And you identified John O'Keefe as the Boston police officer who is fallen in the yard at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
You also informed, if you will skip to page 2529, you also informed these same folks, these same high school buddies, that, quote, all the powers that be want answers ASAP, correct?
Yes.
You knew, Trooper Proctor, that there was brass that wanted this case wrapped up quickly and efficiently. Isn't that right?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Is that what you were thinking?
No, the people wanted answers, sir.
They wanted it. They didn't just want answers. They wanted answers ASAP. What does ASAP mean?
That's as soon as possible.
Right. And you were texting this to your high school friends, again, 16 hours into this investigation, right?
Correct.
And you knew at that time, Trooper Proctor, that this was not going to implicate in any way, shape, form, or fashion another cop, correct?
Correct.
In this text exchange, let's turn to 2532, actually. You have that in front of you?
I do.
In this text exchange at 10:56 p.m., your buddy Bird writes, I'm sure the owners of the house will receive some shit, correct?
Correct.
How did you take that to mean? Did you take that to mean that he could get in trouble?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what my friend was getting at.
Well, you had some idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Said the owners of the house isn't going to get any shit for this, right?
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, you interpreted it like he's not going to get in any trouble. He's not going to be a suspect, correct?
Correct.
And he's not going to be implicated in any way. Is that right?
Correct.
And your answer was one word, correct?
Yes.
What was that word?
Nope.
And then you followed that up with an explanation as to why you said no, didn't you?
That wasn't the explanation why I said nope. I simply said homeowner's a Boston cop too, meaning Mr. O'Keefe was a Boston cop. The homeowner is a Boston cop as well.
Can we stop right there? I think that's a pretty telling answer. He's not going to get any shit because the homeowner's a Boston cop. Okay, what does that tell you? Okay.
Well, and I think Proctor does as good a job as he can do when he's got his hand caught in the cookie jar to say, well, no, that was just like, further information, not an explanation for my no, just that, oh, by the way, victim's a cop, homeowner's a cop. So, but it doesn't sell, not to me anyway.
Well, so, but I don't know. I mean, I just see, it just seems to me that that's the protection of the fellow cop, right? Right?
Well, yeah, that's the blue wall. Or is it a blue line?
Where's
Mediocre
the blue
chicken parm. Is there such a thing as mediocre chicken parm? It's a lovely dish. Michael Bryant, were you the one followed in Canton? Somebody followed in Canton?
Would somebody follow? Tell us. I'm putting that
I
up
know.
because there's somebody who's followed. It could be Michael because Michael's been on the road a lot up there. And as we said, we just released a new ad, by the way. If you go to @JusticeServedTV, our X page, formerly Twitter, we just released a new ad about us, about Justice Served TV. And all the people we've interviewed. We're small, we're mighty, we're growing because of you. So I'm going to just stop for a second and ask you all, since you're all chatting, more of you are coming here right now, hit that like button, because it's that like button and that share button that gets us into the algorithm, but especially the like button. So let's how we did the drum roll?
That's for drumming somebody out of the business, drumming them out of the service. That is not for pleasantries. Okay.
All right,
So
drum roll. Hit that like button.
that I don't have. Now I
at
could get a normal drum
once.
roll. That
All at
I'll have to
once.
find that. You
All right,
you didn't get this because you're not a member, but I did a little video today because I was having a thought about X and tweets because I'm over the whole tweet thing. And I have said, you know, I just post. I used to say if you post on X, we should call them excrements because most of the stuff on X is shit.
Not ours.
That didn't sell.
No,
So
that
I
didn't
came up with a
sell.
new one. It's an ex post facto. Ex post facto.
Did you send
Yeah.
that to Elon Musk?
I
who's,
did not.
Starlink-
I just wanted to
Starlink
throw it out there and let people
whether you like
cogitate on
Elon
that.
or not, the reason why we were coming to you from Cannes yesterday is we were using our Starlink, our mini Starlink.
Amazing piece of equipment, I'll tell
know,
you that.
So, it's now apparently cheaper than when we bought it. So
Of course it is. Everything is. Everything is. Yeah.
Wait, everything else I buy has gone up. I want my money back. Okay.
No, you don't invest in those devices. It's like investing in a computer or a calculator. They're going to be far cheaper the next year. But you had it, and we used it.
And we use it to come to you. All right.
I can tell you at least 3 times I've driven off with it on the roof of the car. I can tell you that. I don't go far, but I pull over and get it.
I will tell you a story. I was trying a case in Passaic County, New Jersey, which is pretty far out west, and all, and we were there for a couple hours, and because we're defense lawyers, we don't get to park in secured parking lots. We have to go on the streets and park. And I had, believe it or not, my trust fund account and all the exhibits, because I had to go to the bank to do something with the trust fund, and all my exhibits were on top of the car because I like to bring in actually not just exhibits that are on the computer, but I like to bring in like boards. Sometimes,
foam boards. Yeah,
the foam boards. I think they're very effective and all. And I put them on top of the car and with my paralegal, and then I drove down Route 80, and there's somebody driving next to me, beeping, and I'm thinking, don't look, because we get people are the reason why I have 2 cell phones is that people can call and yell at me publicly on the public one, and the private one is I know it's going to be my friends. And it turns out that my exhibits of my trust account were just flying all over Route 80.
Gosh.
Yeah, we had to stop and we had to call the police and had to get everything. Took a couple hours to go back and get everything, and it was all over Route 80. But so it's a fun thing about you driving away with the Starlink, because it can happen because you're thinking about so much else.
Yeah, well, it's just, you got junk. There's a lot of bits and pieces and parts, and it's so innocuous. Just, it's up there, and you close the door on the cable to the power, and I probably could get pretty good speed going before it would take off, but I've not gotten that.
You can mount it. There is a mounting thing. You can mount it.
Yeah. There's like a little pole type thing that you can mount it on. Yeah.
And then the little stuck in the bargain with a little Starlink, and then people are attacking Michael Bryant because they want to attack Tesla or something.
Maybe I can get the logo. Put our logo on it. That would be good.
Yeah, Justice Sir
Make a note of
TV.
that.
There you go. All right, where were we? We were in the
I
world
have no
pocket.
idea. Okay, let's see where we are. Let's get back.
That preceded your answer, nope. The homeowners of Boston Cop 2 was the homeowner's going to get some shit for this, correct?
That's not what I meant with that text.
That's what you wrote.
Not what I meant, sir.
All right, let's take it in order. Question. Oh goodness, the homeowner's going to get some shit for this. Answer, nope. Next text. He's a Boston Cop 2. That doesn't sound like an explanation for your nope.
No, that's just saying he's a Boston cop as well. Mr. O'Keefe is a
And that's
Boston
why
cop.
he's not going to get any shit, correct, Trooper Proctor?
Well, he's not going to receive any shit, sir, because Mr. Albert, the homeowner, had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
And you knew this
Take it, Karen.
16 hours into your investigation.
Yes.
Less than a day.
Yes.
To your satisfaction.
To my satisfaction
And
and
you
to the
haven't
members
been
of my
to the
unit.
crime scene?
So let him finish. We didn't get finish your answer.
To my satisfaction and to all the members of my unit who investigated that day.
Objection.
He hadn't even been there.
Calls for
All right.
speculation.
Yeah, all the people in my unit, people that are on the boss over in my unit to my day, 16 hours, we concluded that the house we hadn't even investigated. We haven't even done any investigation, but he wasn't even there, right? He hadn't even gone to the house.
No,
right?
he didn't go. No,
Right?
but his people did. His people did. Like I said, he got the call like toward the end of his shift, and that was,
But
Right.
here's the thing I have, so the camera person pans to show Karen. I want to see him. I want to see Proctor squirming in his seat. I don't want to see Karen Reed. I want to see Proctor. I think that's a wrong way to handle this, is to go to her when the person who really should be squirming because he made that call is Proctor, as we now know. Okay, because it's been.
So you know how you fix that? You got to have 2 cameras, but most courts won't allow you to have 2 cameras. So, unfortunately, and then you have the Lori Vallow case out of Idaho, where she complained because they had 1 camera just fixed on her the whole time.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me. It happened to me in Hernandez. We had a camera fixed on us.
Yeah, well, if they didn't like it, she objected, and they removed it.
Yeah.
But it never got that far in this case because Judge Bev never allowed more than 1 camera. So you're stuck with that. And I understand.
But then who makes the decision? You're going to show her
as
opposed to the.
Yeah, somebody. This was the pool cam is court TV, and so at operations level, just like when Law and Crime was the pool feed, they tell them here's what we're focusing on. Sometimes it's somebody in their ear almost all the time. Sometimes it's just general directions, witness, defense counsel. I mean, here are the 3 things you can shoot, and they leave it up to the shooter to do that. I think they should be in their ear a little more. So I don't know in this particular case if they were.
Okay.
I'm going to let it stand. Trooper Proctor, you have to keep your voice up, okay? Jurors need to hear you way back there.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact of the matter is, you hadn't been to the crime scene by the time you wrote this text, correct?
Correct.
You hadn't been inside the home, correct?
No.
You had you had questioned a grand total of 3 percipient witnesses at this point, correct?
Yes.
And 2 of the 3 were named McCabe, right?
Correct.
And 1 of the 3 was named Albert, correct?
Yes.
And it's against that backdrop that you wrote, nope, the homeowner's not going to get any shit because he's a cop, right?
That's not what I meant by that.
At 10:57, Bird goes on to write, he, the homeowner, must have been a puddle to accomplish that. And then he writes, who's the homeowner? And then he writes, I hope not, but I can see it. Correct?
Yes.
A puddle means drunk, correct?
That's a term for it, yes.
In other words, Bird wrote that the homeowner must have been so drunk, so wasted to have killed him. Correct?
Objection.
Do you know what that means? Do you know what that text means?
Just the puddle part, Your Honor. That term.
All right, so he can answer that.
And the puddle part means drunk or wasted, right?
Yes.
And what Bird actually wrote was, he must have been a puddle to accomplish that. Correct?
That's what he wrote.
And then you write back, quote, she waffled him. I looked at his body at the hospital, right?
Correct.
You used the phrase waffled about a Boston police officer who had fallen in the snow and died in someone's yard. And you decided to use the word waffled him, correct?
Objection.
So sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Did you answer, she waffled him, I looked at his body at the hospital?
I did answer that, yes.
And then Bird questioned, she waffled him, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, he was banged up. Is that right?
Yes.
Then a person with the phone number 0095 wrote, I thought he was drunk. Did he get beat up? You see that?
I do.
And you wrote, nope. Is that right?
Correct.
Yet again, this is before 11 o'clock at night on January 29th, 2022, some 16 hours into your investigation. Is that right?
Yes.
So before you ever went to the crime scene, before you ever went into the house, only having interviewed 3 folks, you had this case nice and wrapped up, didn't you?
Yes. Based on the evidence
He just sounds so stupid.
my
Oh my
office
God, so
uncovered
dumb.
that day, the 1 shoot discovered at the scene, the 1 shoot at the hospital, Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, the broken taillight pieces underneath the snow.
Super Proctor, I didn't ask for an explanation. I asked, did you, in your mind, have this case wrapped up? Was it cut and dry in your mind?
Yes.
Bird then writes, so the owner of the house was a woman. Sorry, was a woman cop that beat him, question mark, right?
Yes.
And then you wrote, that's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you said, then I saw the guy, correct?
Correct.
So what you meant by that, Trooper Proctor, was according to you, based on your conversations, your initial conversations with the paramedics, the first responders, you were under the impression that this was a beating death. He'd been beaten to death, correct?
The way it was given to me, sir, was
That's yes or no?
medical.
That's yes
No,
or no?
he's going to answer the question. If you want
Go
to
ahead.
withdraw the question, you can.
No, go ahead.
We entered this investigation with an open mind. It was given to me as a medical situation. And when we saw Mr. O'Keefe's body at the hospital with Sergeant Buchanan and I, we saw his injuries and we were kind of working through how these injuries occurred.
As a matter of fact, both you and Sergeant Buchanan believed that he had suffered the injuries as a result of a physical altercation based on information you received from the paramedics initially, correct?
Initially, we didn't know what we had. We knew there was some significant injuries to Mr. O'Keefe. And we're still figuring out how those injuries occurred.
Well, you just testified. Initially, we didn't know what we had.
Right.
But 16 hours after the fact, you wrote the following sentence. That's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics. Correct?
Correct.
So initially, you did think you knew what you had. A physical altercation leading to a death. Correct?
Correct.
There, this is right there, Mike.
So when
Let's
you
stop it
just-
right there. It's what he initially thought he had. And this, by the way, remember, there's no medical examiner's report here. There's no autopsy
No.
report. There's nothing.
There's an ME now identified by the prosecution, which will be very interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a no. I wouldn't say an ME. It's a forensic pathologist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the medical
There's
examiner
happens to be medical examiner, but not the medical
medical
examiner.
examiner.
Yes. Go ahead.
So yes, so the medical examiner who actually did the autopsy and the one the state then hired again to look at it both said this was undetermined
Undetermined.
death. And
Yeah.
now we got a little shopping, as they say. Pokemon. That leads us to just a question of Pokemon. What is different on the witness list compared to the previous trial? Well, I think the defense list, as we said, added 19 new names, including 7 new expert witnesses. And the prosecution has withdrawn names and now has added, obviously, a lot of the names that we heard that the defense has been fighting against, and a new forensic pathologist, but not the one who did the autopsy here. Somebody who's obviously going to agree with their conclusions.
Yes, clearly it was as a result of a motor vehicle strike. No doubt about it. So if you're looking at this body in the morgue, as they were suggesting they were, Buchanan and Proctor.
And I don't think they were. I think they were looking at at the hospital. Right?
Before he died?
No,
I thought he just
died at
said
the
they were
hospital.
looking
He
at
died-
it.
Oh, did they say that? I thought they went to the hospital and all, right?
Either way, the injuries were what the injuries were. You could see what they were, to the arm, to the head. Jackson's trying to get him to admit that your initial thought was this guy got beat to hell, right?
Yes, it was at the hospital. It was at the hospital because he was called. He was pronounced at the hospital, even though he's probably was dead.
Yes.
But there may have been some brain activity. You know,
Right.
people don't understand that you can really be dead, but you can still have some brain activity. And also, it was at the hospital.
Yeah,
Right,
and at a certain
yeah.
point, they won't even try to resuscitate or get sinus rhythm to the heart. If you lose it, if there's no brain activity, they're done.
Yeah, and I did see a question here, by the way, that talked about the jury didn't understand this right here from Disney Nerd. Hi, Disney Nerd. How are you? She's one of our mods. She's Ashley now because the jurors didn't understand the definition of reasonable doubt, and the foreperson wouldn't allow them to ask questions. And when we try cases, by the way, just as an aside, when we do these focus groups or mock jury trials, we're always looking for how do you identify the one person who is going to, when the jury gets hung up on all this stuff, stand up and say, look, we're not here to decide actually what happened. We're here to decide whether the prosecution has proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the question we have to answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Our job is not to help the prosecution get where they need to go, And sometimes I think jurors think, they think that's part of the deal. Well, what if we look at this, and this? Then it makes it more likely. Then maybe it's more beyond a reasonable doubt. That's great, but that ain't the job. So, okay. You want to see more of him? Should we do a little true crime roulette?
Yeah, a little true crime roulette.
Initially, we
You
didn't
know what that
we
is.
had.
What's that?
This is Bob was on not too long ago, Bob Bianchi. and we have these big chunks, and you could go through them. I guess this little chunk here is an hour and a half, I believe. But I will scroll just very slowly, and then when you're feeling it, just tell me to stop, and we'll pick it up there.
Okay. Stop.
Well, according to my response at the time, apparently.
See what happens.
Then you sent a picture just to add to it, to pile on, of Miss Reed.
Oh, okay. We got to
arrested,
back up here
correct?
just a second. Sorry, I'm audibilizing. I want to catch that initial question.
Right?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
And how did you respond to Bird saying, "Good, no ass bitch"?
I laughed.
Thought that was funny, did you? Trooper Proctor? Thought that was funny?
It was unprofessional of me. That's something I shouldn't have done.
Well, I think we all know it was unprofessional. It was a lot of things. I'm asking
Yep.
you, did you think it was funny?
Well, according to my response at the time, apparently.
Then you sent a picture just to add to it, to pile on, of Miss Reed being arrested, correct?
I don't. I'm not sure if that came from me, sir.
Let's skip to 2543. Are you there, Trooper Proctor?
Yes.
The date is now February 2nd, 2022. And a person by the name of Doc writes, "Is that chick a smoke?" Correct?
Correct.
Who's the chick?
Miss Reed.
And you write E-H, right?
Yes.
And then you write nutbag, as Chief would say, correct?
Correct.
Who's Chief?
A friend of mine.
And then you write what?
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Trooper Proctor, explain to the jurors what a balloon knot is.
Your essentially, I guess, your rectum area.
Your anus?
Yes.
That's what you were referring to about Miss Reed?
Yes.
And you were making fun of her because you believed at that time that it leaked? That's how you were treating Miss Reed? Yes or no?
Yes.
And then you followed that up just to make sure you cleared up any mistake about what you meant with leaks poo, correct?
Objection.
All right, so I'm going to strike that. You could get this in, but do it the right way, Mr. Jackson.
You followed that up with the phrase leaks poo, didn't you?
I did.
Again, another reference to Miss Reed's medical issues and medical conditions, correct?
Correct.
Specifically focused on her anus, correct?
In reference, yes.
Michael, let's stop him for a second. That was a pretty good roulette that we played.
Yeah,
that we stopped it, right?
you were feeling it because
I
that's
was-
obviously the key to the most disgusting part of his
Oh, the thing, yeah.
testimony.
Sui Generous is back. Hi, Sui Generous. Proctor, thank you again for your donation. Proctor, 50 reasons to dismiss this case. What a real pig. You gotta love Alan's.
I love fricatives is such a great
Fricatives.
word.
It's a great word,
Fricatives
yeah.
relates to how he punctuates and enunciates in a way that really just kind of cuts through the air. Fricatives, it's a great word.
And let me tell you, Hank Brennan's going to object to his question, the way he answered questions, because you see how he gets the comment in, the knife in before he actually asked the question, right?
Yeah, and there was an objection toward that final, punch when they were talking about, her Crohn's condition. Let me say this: when you're in this position questioning a witness, and you know what you've got, and it's all about how you unfold it, how you present it to the jury. As disgusting as this is with these texts and this back and forth with this piece of garbage on the stand, as the attorney, there's nothing more exciting. There's nothing that am I kidding, right?
No,
There's
you're absolutely
nothing
right.
more exciting than knowing you've got this bastard and you're going to just live through it and drag it out, drag him through the mud because you've been planning this, waiting for this, and now you're doing it. And it's I'm sorry, but it's exhilarating.
Yeah, and no matter what Judge Cannoni does by yelling at Jackson there, unless you were the foreperson who, again, I didn't realize he was former law enforcement. I don't know why. I heard why they kept him, but I would never keep him.
And then appointed him. Bev appointed him.
Of course she did. Of course she did, because she knew he was former law enforcement. We had the same issue. I had left the case on Michael Skakel, which we eventually got him exonerated, but I wouldn't try the case with Mickey Sherman. And he left a cop, juror number 7, I think it was, in the Skakel case, on because he went, well, if a cop can find him not guilty, then everyone would agree. You never leave. You just don't. You just don't. Okay. So anyhow, that's my jury selection advice to them on next time around.
Good
okay.
advice. Yeah.
Were you aware at the time that you wrote this that Miss Reed had suffered a colectomy surgery, very serious surgery?
I was not, sir, no.
Were you aware that she had had 10 surgeries in 18 months, several years prior? 10.
I was not aware of that.
Were you aware that she had serious medical issues, gastrointestinal medical issues that she suffered with, she was a victim of for years? Did you know that?
Objection.
Sustained.
But you decided that you were going to take another shot at her and talk about her anatomy.
1 second, sir. I'm sorry.
No, her recorder freaked out under there.
That's
You
Regina
decided that
King.
you were going
Great
to take
point
another
for her.
shot at her and talk about her anatomy as a balloon knot, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay, question for you. Now, the way Judge Bev does this, not my favorite way. She doesn't want you to state the grounds for the objection, right?
Right.
Which is a pain in the ass when it gets to an appeal, right? Everybody's got to fill in blanks. There's an objection to that question. And there was an objection to the one before, which was a kind of a follow-up about you didn't know she had all these medical conditions. Objection sustained. What was she sustaining? What was the objection
Okay, the
in
first
her
one
brain?
was because I thought actually the objection should have come earlier if it was.
Asked and answered?
No, the second one was asked and answered. The first one is the defense hadn't proved that she had all these surgeries for years.
So lack of foundation.
It's a lack of foundation.
Okay. I just think it makes a mess you don't need to make, and it's a lazy way to be a judge.
Yeah, and the stupid, she let all this stuff in beforehand. So why, it was a little bit old,
Yeah,
At
anyway.
this point, Trooper Proctor, Miss Reed was just reduced to a punchline to you, wasn't she?
Objection.
Sustained.
argumentative.
Argumentative.
Well, you weren't done yet. This chat doesn't end yet, does it?
We could have a game. It's like,
No,
name
sir.
that objection.
Let's skip to 2543. On the same date, February 2nd, 2022, about 4:15 p.m., a person by the name of Whitey wrote, "What are you guzzling on?" Correct?
Will we stop this for a second? I want to show how serious this is. This is one of our chatters, LA. People like this are why my husband refused a permanent life-saving colostomy bag for his Crohn's disease, okay, which killed him at 36 years old. People were cruel to him when he just had a temporary one, scaring him. And what I want to point out is that this is a serious matter. If you know anyone who has Crohn's, this is really serious. And so it almost gets lost how serious it is. I mean, 10 surgeries within 18 months, it just gets lost here. And by making fun of it, exactly, LA, I'm so sorry that people do get scared. They get embarrassed. They don't want to say it. Even people who need a temporary bag don't want to do it. They think it's terrible. How are they going to explain to people that they have to empty the bag and somewhere? And matter of fact, a story here. My husband is a doctor, forensic pathologist, but it was his chief resident before he decided to go into pathology. Michael's a great doctor. we had somebody in our building who was dying, and the wife couldn't empty the bag, and she called downstairs to see whether Michael was here and whether he would do it, and Michael went up and did it, because it's scary to people. But I just want to point out, it is serious if you know anyone, and the fact that he was making fun of her is simply outrageous.
Yeah, it
Thank
really
you,
is.
LA, for sharing.
I have a good friend who had one temporarily while he was having some work done down there. And then my brother-in-law decided to get one permanently. It was an either-or proposition, and he would alleviate a lot of problems going forward if he got one permanently. So he has a permanent stoma and a colostomy bag. So
Yeah, I just wanted to, because it's just so horrible that he did this.
yes, I mean it makes a horrible person even more horrible. So insensitive and so, he's not a bright dude. Okay, it's simple. He's not very bright. This question. You see this question?
Yeah, Ashley
Actually,
Linnell.
no. If he pleads the fifth, can't they bring in the other people that were on the text to get them? Yeah, I mean, I don't know that how he pleads the fifth when it comes to the text, because they're not incriminating, unless being an asshole is a felony. Maybe
Unless it's a cover-up, unless he wants them as a cover-up.
I
And then-
guess,
yeah.
but most of those texts are just personally embarrassing because of, how crude he is.
But here's
but
the
yes.
question: is, well, they could bring the people in, but they can't attest you received the text, but you don't know who it's. They can't. Usually, you have to bring both sides in to say, "I sent it," and then I received it, or else you don't have the. And then some judges are very strict on that. Other judges will let it in to say,
Yeah,
okay, this is what you
obviously,
thought.
this is coming in with one person on that text chain, not the other 9.
Yes.
And you wrote nothing, writing a warrant. Is that right?
Correct.
Why did you then share some sort of a video? Correct?
Yes.
Do you remember that video being of the 1980s band Warrant?
I don't recall the video he sent.
0095 laughed and then wrote, "Wait, why does her asshole leak?" Correct?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
And then what did Doc write in response to that?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. I'll see it. Sidebar, take that down, please.
There you go. What did he write in response to that? Because you got to bring Doc in usually. She's sustained the objection. In fact, I'm unhappy. And how did he find out that she had these serious medical issues in the first place? These were texts sent immediately after he spoke to Jen McCabe, which makes it worse. Michael,
Yep.
I don't
I mean,
know the answer to
that it's a very finite period of time. We know that it was roughly 16 hours before he started this conversation. So who did he talk to? He talked to the McCabes, and who else was and an Albert, I think. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, and yet there was no need for a warrant to go into the house because there was cops involved, and no problem there.
So, okay, it's time for as we roll through here. It's already what
Another
time is
roulette.
it? Yeah,
It's
let's do
already-
some more roulette.
yeah,
Ready?
it's more
And let's see
roulette,
if
yeah.
you get lucky again. Let's see.
Okay. Yes, stop. Let's stop right here.
Okay. Are we still in sidebar?
Are we still on the sidewalk?
No, we can't be. Might be in another one though. Okay, let's.
I must have hit roulette 10 seconds too late.
I think the ball jumped off the table with that one. Yeah, they show her a lot when it's sidebar.
Julie and Chris.
And Colin, correct?
Correct, and call him.
And you knew the Alberts when you gave this testimony in February of 2024. Is that right?
Yeah, they asked if there was any relationships.
And let's try this again. Meaning you told First Assistant Beeland that you didn't have relationships with members of the Alberts and members of the Albert and McCabe families. Answer: correct.
Mm-hmm.
Was that ambiguous in your mind?
The way I interpreted relationships was basically being like friends or, communications, frequent communications. That's how I interpreted
Well, that might have been a
relations.
good time to pipe up and say, well, I know Chris and I know Julie and I know Colin, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
That might have been a good time to answer the question, I know these 3 individuals from the Albert family, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
But your answer
Again,
was
the
one word,
question is all that
correct,
matters.
right?
Right.
Yes.
You further testified that you never have
Speculation,
gone to any
okay.
supervisor at Massachusetts State Police to disclose even a potential conflict of interest in this case that you might have, correct?
Correct.
And you indicated the needs never come up. Is that right?
Correct.
You also told ADA Lally that you, quote, did not have relationships or know members of the Albert or McCabe families, correct?
Correct.
And that's just not true, is it? You do know members of the Albert family. Isn't that right?
It's different from having a relationship with people.
But what about part of the question, did not have relationships or know members of the Albert or McCabe families? How about that part of the question?
Well, that's lumped in with the McCabes. I don't know the McCabe family, sir.
I see. So what you did, Trooper Proctor, is you dissected the sentence, and where relationships are concerned, you ignored that in terms of the Alberts because you don't have relationships. Where no is concerned, you link that to the McCabes because you don't know the McCabes. That's what you did?
No.
So it's sustained. You can ask it. You can break it down, Mr. Jackson.
It's definitely a compound
sure I
question,
can.
but he made his point.
I'll ask
Yeah,
it a
it's
different
one
way.
Actually,
about
it's
if
a
I just
great
ask it
way.
this way? That
Because
was a lie.
that's what he
Was-
did.
No, absolutely not.
You stand by that testimony?
Yes.
That you don't know at the time that you testified, that you didn't know the Alberts or any members of the Albert family?
They don't have relationships with them.
Okay. My question is, you keep going back to relationships. I'm asking you, did you testify that you didn't know them?
Objection.
I'll let him have it. Do you
What's wrong
understand
with
the
that
question, Trooper?
Okay.
I knew Chris, Julie, and Colin.
So if you were to say, I don't know any members of the Albert family, that would have been a lie, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Argumentative.
Yeah,
But the question's
argumentative.
all that matters. By the way,
This is the point at which
Troy became
I
a
intend to
YouTube member.
turn to
Thank
tap.
you.
Oh, yeah, Twa. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
I'm pronouncing it Twa.
Jurors, feel free to stand.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
but the jury gets it. I mean, he's parsing everything, right? You know?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Of course he is, because, he looks like a tool. And he's, I don't have a relationship with him. Well, it says or no. Well, I applied that to the people I don't really know, and I applied relationship with people I know but don't have a relationship with. I mean, it's nonsensical. But
So
what else could he do?
Yeah, so Jenner says Karen Reed has MS and a brain tumor and her colon issue. Seriously? I didn't know about the brain tumor.
I think I vaguely remember something about that. Yeah,
my
and
gosh.
she's 44 now. MS, could really impact quality of life going forward.
Oh my gosh, wow. I'm so sorry. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. That makes it even crueler, doesn't it? Even crueler.
Okay, we're gonna go one more spin.
One more spin, and I'm going to close my eyes this time before I say
Okay.
stop.
All right.
Closing my eyes. Closing my eyes. Let's spin a little bit. Stop.
Began the interview and then left, correct?
Yes.
6:21, you called her back and you spoke for 3 minutes and 58 seconds. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you discuss the interview?
I don't recall the content of that conversation.
And of course, you never memorialized that in any report, did you? The fact that you had a subsequent phone call with Julie Albert on your personal cell phone.
I did not.
Let's turn to tab 5 one more time. And if you could turn to page 2677. Trooper Proctor, after your interview with Julie Albert, your sister, Courtney, texted you, how did it go at Julie's? She was so nervous. You recall that?
Yes.
In fact, you responded to that with a ha, 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 ha. 4 ha's, right? And then why, question mark, correct?
Correct.
Then you responded, it was fine, just a quick convo, correct?
Yes.
You were literally reporting back to your sister about the progress of your investigation in a homicide investigation, weren't you?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Were you reporting your progress to your sister about your investigation?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
Well, I guess that may be approaching, but you know,
That was a
this-
hearsay. I'm guessing it was a hearsay objection. But
That's what I'm guessing too. But we know that hearsay is allowed in a administrative hearing, and I gather that some of the charges, the charge 1 with the specification 1, 2, and 3 in the charges he's fired for has to do with some of this also, because he's having conversations with people about this, about the future defendant and the case when he should not have.
yeah, he apparently will talk to anybody about it. Really.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that was kind of truncated, so I'll give you one more.
Okay, one more. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look again this time. I'm going to just hold up his charges, and then at some point I'll put the charges down. Okay, I'll put him down.
For a gift.
Ooh, we're going to
I
some
never
text.
received a
Okay.
gift. Elizabeth never asked for a gift. She never received a gift. You remember that?
Correct.
You said you never asked for a gift, correct?
Correct.
What's your next text?
Get Elizabeth one.
Get Elizabeth one what?
Referring to a gift.
Okay, so just to
So you
fill
did-
in some of the blanks here, you remember there was this issue about kind of pay for play, and he was saying, no, I didn't want anything, but Elizabeth is his wife, and he's telling this person, we'll just get her
In fact,
something.
asked for a gift, didn't you?
For my wife, who had been home with my children for the last 10 nights.
From Julie Albert
Yes.
for your participation on this case.
I don't know if that's yes.
Well, Courtney Proctor answers that question by saying, because I guess her and Chris were friends and John, and she's so proud of you for leading this investigation, correct?
Correct.
You're aware
Disney nurse says it's the perfect
during
segment.
the course of
after
your investigation.
his
Well, let me ask you
recent
this.
interview
Let me
with
ask
the
a
wife and
foundational question.
sister.
Do you pull
Yes,
phone
it is.
records as a matter of course in investigations of this nature?
Yes.
Did you pull phone records in this case, variously?
The phone records of,
Of anybody? Witnesses, suspects,
not witnesses, Mr.
individual people, whatever?
We didn't pull full phone records of witnesses.
Victim?
Victim and Miss Reed.
During the course of your investigation, did you become aware that there were 67 calls between Julie Albert and your sister, Courtney, in the months following John O'Keefe's death?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain that objection.
Did you become aware during the course of your investigation of the level of communication between Julie Albert, one of the witnesses on the case, and your sister?
Objection.
I'm sustaining that objection. You can come
What's
try
this?
and convince me otherwise if you want.
I can ask it a different way, Your Honor. Thank you. Did you ever seek information about phone calls and communications that Julie Albert may or may not have been having with anybody else?
No.
Didn't download her phone, didn't seek her phone records.
No.
Did Courtney ever tell you that she had consistent communications with Julie Albert? Or did you know that otherwise?
Objection.
During the months, let me ask it this way, during the months following John O'Keefe's death, you did continue to have consistent communications with Courtney, though, didn't you?
Yes, I speak to my sister every day.
Trooper Proctor, were you using Courtney, your sister, as an intermediary between you and Julie Albert?
Absolutely not.
You were well aware from the very beginning of your investigation that Colin Albert was, in fact, at 34 Fairview on the night in question, right?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you testified at the grand jury, the state court grand jury on this case, that you knew that Colin Albert was at the location, right?
Yes.
Did you make any concerted efforts to keep Colin Albert's name out of this investigation?
No.
Why is it, Trooper Proctor, that Colin Albert's name fails to appear in a single police report until July 18, 2023?
Colin Albert was not at the home. He left at approximately 12:10 a.m. before anyone from the waterfall had arrived back there.
Let's look at, obviously, part of the job of an investigator is to be as complete and thorough as possible, correct?
Yes.
You don't just take someone's word for something. You look for corroborating evidence, don't you?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you wouldn't take a witness's word for almost anything in a reasonable investigation, would you?
Objection.
Would you?
If-
You can have that.
If I find the witness to be credible and have no reason to lie, then yes, I would take their word.
Would you try to support a witness's statement, or witnesses with an apostrophe, S apostrophe, their statements with corroborating evidence?
Yeah, potentially.
That corroborating evidence might be talking to other witnesses, right?
Yes,
It might be looking at cell phone data, correct?
correct.
It might be looking at geolocation data, correct?
Yes,
If you're trying to find out where someone is, you might pull information from their phone concerning geolocation data, right?
yes.
You might pull cell tower information, right?
If there's a need for it.
There's myriad ways that you can find out whether someone's telling the truth about where they were and when they were there, right?
Right.
You may look at their Apple Watch.
Let's take a look at your handwritten
Or their
notes
phone.
from your interview with Juliana Nagel on October 5th, 2022. This should be tab 7, Trooper Proctor. Oh,
What is it for identification?
my mistake. I thought it was in the tab. It's not. This is a 3-page document. I'll just refresh his recollection with this.
Okay, show Mr. Lally and then go ahead.
Of course. Let me ask a foundational question, Trooper Proctor. Do you remember exactly what's in your notes from a conversation that you had on October 5th, 2022?
I don't know.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection to take a look at your handwritten notes?
Yes, sir.
See, that is so important how he's done this, and he does it so seamlessly. You don't even know what
Right.
he's doing.
Right.
You can't refresh somebody's recollection until you establish they don't remember.
Right.
So he
Right.
very clearly says, an obscure date and time that nobody would remember, right? In general, unless it was the date they found a body. And so I don't remember. Okay, well now he approaches and refreshes his recollection with it.
And for people that don't know, you can refresh somebody's recollection by bringing in a kitchen sink, no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be anything related to the case. If my swing line stapler in a shoe refreshes recollection, I
That's
can
a
use it.
stapler.
That's a
It does, sir.
Are those your notes, your handwritten notes from this, at least partially from this investigation?
By the way,
Yes.
thank
Does
you,
that
Kay
reflect your
Schmidt, for
handwritten notes
gifting 5
based on the
JSTV
conversation
Very
that you
nice.
had with Juliana Nagel
memberships again.
on
You're
or
always
about
doing that. We
October
appreciate
5th,
it so much.
2022?
While he's looking, everybody hit that like button right now, okay? While we have a little dead space. Hit that like button for Justice Served TV. Get us into that algorithm. Spread the word. I mean, I see you're all coming. The more chatters are building up as we continue to go here looking at this. So Generous points out, while you're all looking at this, the lead investigator from a year ago, he's now fired. Dishonorably discharged, would you say? Guilty, 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 guilty.
Drummed out of the force, I say.
Yeah, at least there's been somebody found guilty of something.
Yep. Just a shred of justice served, apparently. Well, this is very riveting. I can't remember what it is he was going for. It's been...
Thanks, Becky Ihorn, for continuing to listen. So we appreciate it. At some point, we may try to put ourselves back on Apple Podcasts so you can listen to.
Yeah, I've gotten lazy, I
Representation,
admit.
have a copy of your notes from your interview with Juliana Nagel.
Yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I changed my mind. I would like to have this marked as next.
Introduced into evidence?
Correct.
Is there an objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the objection sustained.
Is it true that in your handwritten notes, you list the following individuals based on Juliana Nagel's conversation with you as being at 34 Fairview? Brian, Juliana, Mary Kent, Emily Fabiano, Courtney Alba, Colin Albert, and Sarah Levinson. Correct?
Correct.
You then drafted a report memorializing your conversation with Juliana Nagel, correct?
Yes.
And that report is a formal memorialization of your interview based on your investigation, correct?
Yes, a summary of the conversation for the interview.
And that report is the thing that's turned over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Yes.
And the report is the thing that's entered into discovery and provided to the defense.
Correct.
And isn't it true that in that report, you list the individuals that were at 34 Fairview as Brian, Mary Kent, Emily Fabiano, Sarah Levinson. Is that correct?
Yes.
What's the one name that was left out of your report on that list?
Objection.
I'll allow, was there one name left out?
The,
Break that down, Mr. Jackson.
Sure. Isn't it true that in your report, you excluded the one name, Colin Albert, from the list of individuals that were in your notes?
yes, because he arrived later in the evening. The other females were there from the start.
Dun, dun,
At the
dun.
time that you wrote your report, the formal report, this one, you did not believe that your handwritten notes were also going to be disclosed, did you?
No, I knew that was a possibility.
When you finally did get around to interviewing Colin Albert, you personally conducted that interview, did you not?
Yes.
Colin
Along
Albert
with Trooper
told you
Zach
this-
Clark.
One at a time.
I'm sorry.
Finish your answer, Trooper.
Please go ahead.
Yes, along with Trooper Zach Clark in my office.
Zach Clark, is that what he said?
Colin
Yeah.
Albert told you that he was
Zach
picked
Clark,
up by
my
Alan
office.
McCabe from his uncle's house at 12:10 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Alan McCabe also told you that she picked up Colin Albert at 34 Fairview at 12:10 a.m. and then dropped him off at his house, correct?
Correct.
And then she indicated that she went straight home after that, right?
Yes.
Did you conduct any further investigation to determine whether Colin Albert and Alan McCabe were actually telling the truth about that time?
We did not.
You just took them at their word, correct?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you realize you had a forensic image at the time. You had a forensic image of Jennifer McCabe's cell phone in your possession, right?
Correct.
You're also aware that she has a Life 360 app on her phone that tracks the location of Alan McCabe, correct?
I was not aware the app tracked her daughter. I knew of the Life 360 app, but I wasn't aware of the capability of tracking her daughter.
Did you bother to look at Jennifer McCabe's Life 360 app to determine whether Colin Albert and Alan McCabe were telling the truth about the time that they supposedly left 34 Fairview?
Objection.
Did you do that or allow it?
I did not.
Can we take a look at tab 8?
I think we're about done with this clip. I think
Do
it's
you
about
recall
done.
Yeah,
looking
that's
at
like-
all at a Life 360 app?
That-
or
that
its,
360 app,
its
again.
data from
Put that on the list of things I wish I had invented. Oh my God, that is so smart.
Life 360
You're
app.
not aware of that?
Okay.
Life 360?
No, as a matter of fact,
you don't need it.
it.
Yeah, you don't need it anymore. If you have kids, you know,
Yeah.
we've weaned one kid off of it, but I have another one, you know, the one who's graduating in a couple of months. And you know, he's pissed because he's, you know, we kind of, you know, when you're paying the bills, you got a little leverage, and we want him on that because, you know, he's out in California and
Yeah.
kind of like to know he makes it back to the apartment every night, you know?
The only leverage you don't have is you don't get to see his college records because under the federal law, even though the parents
he's an
paying
adult,
the
right?
bills.
Well,
he's
don't
an
get me
adult.
started on the college education. I know it's total bullshit. I know it's 4 years of wasted money. It's just a fact of life, and you got to get it so you can move on to the next level. So I don't
Yeah.
care what his grades are. Just get out, get into the real world, bud. Make some money and learn life. Anyway, but that 360 is a great tool. It is so smart,
Yeah.
and you know, can cause you to be a little more anxious and have a little more anxiety, but it's also calming. So I just wish I had invented that. Damn it.
So
Okay.
anyhow, so we played roulette with his cross-examination. Do you want to do witnesses, or do you have some of his direct examination?
I do have some of the direct, but I have to tell you that I'm going to be turning into a pumpkin here pretty soon.
Okay.
So,
All right. So we have a lot more to go. I mean, we really appreciate everybody. Life 360 is good. We have to go through the witnesses. We have to go through the direct. We have so much, and then we're going to have so much tomorrow. I imagine what's going to come out of that tomorrow.
yeah.
I also want to tell you, we're trying to get Ashley Merchant on, not for this case. I know there's another little case called Fonnie Willis out. We may be a separate segment. It may be something that we tape and run later. We're at her. No, she's wanted everywhere. I mean, she's everywhere. She's in every case, but she's still owed $54,000 by that judge's decision. So we want to check in with that. And the other thing, in case we haven't done, but we will maybe if there's a lull, which I don't know if there's ever going to be in Karen Reed till finishes. In the Brian Koberger case, the 911 tapes were released. Just horrible if you're talking about your kids at college and all. And then we still have a lot more to go. So we keep growing because of you, because you're here. We keep growing. And if Michael wasn't turning into the pumpkin.
I am. I'm turning into a pumpkin.
I could go to 2 or 3. Michael knows.
Apparently you could. And I can just remove myself and you can carry on. So
yeah, but unfortunately you control the tech. We know how I am about that.
So we're going to be back at it tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're going to begin at 9.
Right, I'm going to come on and I'll try to be available at 9 in case there's a little bit of a delay. And you're going to come on when you see that there's a break, and I'll try to hit sidebars. And maybe sometimes we won't make it, but I'll be here working in my office.
Yeah. And we'll be streaming it. So there's a good chance
on.
we'll be listening and we'll be popping on.
And
so
then
just to recap, Proctor's out. And
we don't know if he's out of the trial. We don't know if he's out of the trial.
Well, he's out of a job. He's out of a job.
He's going to appeal it, though. He's going to appeal it.
I did see some Target security guard jobs. I was going to send him the applications for. He might be able to get that.
Was it Mall Cop?
Mall Cop. You know, the malls are disappearing these days. Since COVID, they've kind of disappeared. It's kind of strange.
That's a good Mall Cop. But we have all this to go. I mean, if you looked at my desk, you would think it's one of my cases, which there are some days I do. As a matter of fact, luckily I just signed we had to get the last of something on a settlement paper, and so that's good. On a case is settled right now. Just so you understand that cases like this are hitting the big crime cases are hitting and getting tried, but in civil courts all over the United States, there's still such a backup from COVID that what happens is most people are going into mediation on their cases, and mediation is becoming an effective tool for settling matters, because or else it could be 10 years out before you ever get a trial date in some states. So, and even on these cases here, your big cases are going to trial, but some of your little cases are just getting hung up in the courts still because COVID still has a lasting effect. So that's just some reality having to do with cases. But luckily, we're going to see this one tried April 1st.
We'll see. Again, there was a motion to continue that both sides have agreed to. They want it to be after the 25th, which would be the 28th, that Monday. We'll see. We think it's going to be soundly rejected, but it's out there, and the court will have to respond to it. So, and it all relates to the appeal having been filed by Karen Reed, and they want it to be heard and decided before they launch trial number 2, because if miracle upon miracles, the appellate court says you're right, habeas corpus is an issue here because of the issue with the jurors in the trial number 1, and did they come to a unanimous decision on counts 1 and count 3? Is it double jeopardy? That would kill trial number 2. So it's possible that could happen in the middle of trial 2.
Oh right? My gosh, that would be
would that be a nightmare?
That would be unbelievable. Talking about John O'Keefe, who's dead, not getting any justice as to what happened to him. If anything happened to him, maybe he died a natural death. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe he fell down and hit his head. Well, the problem is with all this, that seems to have gotten forgotten as to what really could have happened and what really did happen. Okay.
And we may never know. And that is the sad truth.
We may never know. We may never know. So there's a lot going on. Please hit that like button. Again, I know some of you are now leaving now that Michael said he's turning into a pumpkin. We are, by the way, trying to get Mark Better on. We touched upon that earlier. Michael's passed him, and I think we put a phone call out to him. I think Missy's going to keep trying to get him on the show. As you know, Will DeGlara's been on. We did have Aiden Carney on, causing me to get hit by the troll factor.
Really.
But I can handle it, on it. People who are in this case, who are players in this case, should be interviewed. And we extend the invitation to everybody. Please go look at our new ad that's on X Twitter that our producers work so hard on putting together. They don't like to be credited, so I won't credit them, but I'm just crediting them by the name of our producers. I want to be a producer. Maybe if you see all the work that they do, you won't want to be a producer. But anyhow, please look at it because, people do come here on the show to be interviewed, and we will interview anyone who wishes to come on from any side. On this case, too, we extend that invitation.
Yep.
So
I agree. Okay, well, let's do it again tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm Michael Bryant. Try to do the right thing.
And I'm Linda Kenny Bodden. Together we are Just to Serve. Again, hit that like button, subscribe, share, and the notify for all. It doesn't cost you anything, and we'll see you tomorrow.